Hi, Kansas HOSA. Welcome to your leadership luncheon session. We're here with the state officer team. We're going to do a couple of activities within this time frame today. First, we're going to start off with something called the DISC profile. This morning, your advisor should have received an email with instructions on how to get there, but your state officer, Sabrina, is going to walk you through it. So we'll go to the PDF real quick.
So to fill this out, as you can see, it's numbered 1 through 4, 4 being most like you and 1 being least like you. So you're gonna look at each horizontal set and you can see like 1 through 10 on the chart. And you're gonna number 1 through 4 of which one's least like you to most like you. And then after you do that, you're gonna add them up in each column. And then that's gonna tell you what DISC profile you are. Oh. So as you can see, here's like kind of the graph that's going to show you which one of each group you are. So there's drive, influence, support, and correct.
And then we'll explain those after you guys see this quiz. So we're going to give you about 5 minutes to go ahead and fill this out. If you already have it filled out, that's awesome. Just hold on to that, and then we'll be unmuted in a couple of minutes. If you have any questions, just go ahead and drop it into the chat, and we can clarify anything you missed. And we're back. Okay, so hopefully you didn't have a lot of trouble filling that out. And if you have it in front of you, that's great. On your screen, you should see a PowerPoint presentation called the DISC profile. So a little bit of background on this. DISC is kind of like like a project thing that we did within our CTSO conferences as state officers. CTSO stands for Career Technical Student Organizations, and HOSA is just one of those organizations that falls under that category. And each year we have conferences in Kansas where student organizations such as HOSA and DECA, FBLA, etc., all of the leadership teams come together. And we just kind of learn from each other, learn the different leadership styles. And this is something that we did. So DISC is an acronym. D stands for drive.
Yes.
I stands for influence, S stands for support, and C stands for correct. So after you added up all of your numbers for each one, you should have a top 2, and then your state officers are going to explain what those mean.
Okay, so this is just a little thing that shows DISC. So drive, people who are leaders under that category are those who are very influential, and they actually no, they're driven, I'm sorry. And then influence leaders are the ones who are influential, and they're more engaging, and they have a more enthusiastic leadership type. And so support would be those who are helpful and supportive to the other members of the team, but they're still a leader. And then leaders who are more correct are detail-oriented and precise with all that they do. When I took the DISC profile, I was D and I, and I think that's pretty accurate.
Something really cool about this diagram actually is that you'll see that if you compare what your teammates or other classmates got when they just took this profile, is that most of the time your top 2 leadership styles are adjacent to each other. So it's usually DI, IC, SC, DS, and almost never DC or SI. And there's a reason for that. Let me completely tell you what all of these mean.
All right, and then of course drive. I am one of those driven people. I'm very result oriented, very assertive, and like to get the job done. And that's basically the drive leadership. If you have it, and I was in D and I, so I was also an influence, but my highest one is drive. And just basically, you're that one assertive type person.
All right, and I was the influence type. I like to help people with stuff and make sure they're making good decisions and influence people to do the right thing. So.
Our next one is support. So on the screen, it shows you that support describes behavior that's helpful and caring towards others. So these are people that will notice within their team when some people are struggling or when some people are really killing it. And they go out there and they will help with those people that might be struggling and really help to balance out the team more. They are highly supportive and kind, caring, and helpful people. They rarely have their own agenda. So normally when you're a supportive leader, you really look out for the team. It's normally not about you, it's about the overall idea.
And the next one is correct. So if you fall under the correct group, you're kind of like the perfectionist of the group. And the people that fall under here are usually like detail oriented and like super just making sure everyone's on task. And so Joy said that you're usually adjacent, but I'm the weirdo. So I got D and C. And so like my responsibility within the group was basically to like go through presentations, make sure it's all pretty and like no typos. So it's really just like the people are really nitpicky about things.
She typoed me hard.
So when you put all of these things together, I'm gonna go back to that original graph. So something really cool about this is that when you are putting together committees, regardless of what type of leadership team you're on, for us, it's specifically the state officer team for Kansas HOSA. If you're on like a leadership team for your school, it doesn't even have to be HOSA anywhere. This is applicable. So like, let's say you have a D&I person on your team. It's good to stick them with a support and correct trait or a person who has those traits, because that gives you a well-rounded team, right? You wouldn't necessarily want to put like a person who has that correct trait with another person who has that correction trait, because there can be like clash there. That doesn't always happen. But when you are putting together like your leadership teams or whatever you're trying to do, this is a really, really good reference on how you can build those teams and how you can utilize each strength that a person has in regards to their leadership position and whatever their strengths are when it comes to teamwork. So with that, I hope you use this in your chapters or whatever it may be. It definitely helped us out when we were building our committees for planning this conference, and it will be a really good reference in the future as well when we're planning for the spring conference. So that's your disc profile. For the remaining time, we want to make this a bit more conversational with you guys. We want to hear like any questions that you may have or any suggestions that you may have to even other leadership teams in Kansas. But before we do that, I thought it would be a good idea if we, as the state officers, kind of told you what we did to like become state officer, what our motive was to do so. And so we'll share that with you real quick. So personally, I've been in HOSA since my freshman year. I got involved with it because I heard there was like a biomedical debate event that I really wanted to do in the spring, and I was on the debate team already. So I was really excited about that. I wasn't super going to be like into HOSA. I thought it was just kind of gonna be like a recreational cool thing I'll do on the side of high school, but I really got involved in it. I fell in love with the community. I fell in love with all of the networking that happened at my state conference. And I had a lot of people to look up to when it came to how to run for state office and do all of that. And so essentially what had me, or like what got me in HOSA, was the spring leadership conference and the international leadership conference my freshman year. And then it kind of just carried me through to where I'm at now. So, yeah.
Okay, so for me, it's kind of similar to what Joy said, but like I am involved in forensics and stuff like that. And I've always known that I wanted to go into the healthcare field. So when I found out about HOSA, I was like, oh, so I can do competitions for future health professionals. I was like, oh, that sounds like exactly what I want to do. And so I just kept getting more involved. And if you could tell freshman me that I would be here right now, like I would not believe you. It was very different. But yeah, I remember going to the fall leadership conference, I think my sophomore year, and I watched the presentation about how to be a state officer, and I was like, maybe I actually do want to do that. And then the rest is just kind of history. Now I'm here. So, yeah.
For me, I remember I was in my advocacy class. That's basically like a study hall, and my biology teacher, yeah, it was like, so I guess we have this HOSA competition going on, and I am naturally a competitive person. So I was like, I want to compete. So I looked it over and I was like, oh, these look like very interesting. I went to spring conference and I was like, I like this. I want to do it again. Me and my best friend had done forensic science, and it was really fun. And so I was like, I'm going to do it again. Then the next year, I was just very involved in it. And so that's just like how it started. And again, I became a state officer because I'm just naturally competitive and I needed something to do. So that's why I'm here.
So I first joined HOSA when I was a freshman, which most people do, but I went to my first spring conference and I just fell in love with it. I love the people. I love this team. They're so nice. Like it's so fun having people to talk to about it. But I really wanted to continue with it because I've always known I want to go into a health career, and competing in health events is like kind of cool. Like most people don't get that opportunity. So I think that's fun.
That's why. Personally for me, I learned about HOSA through my chemistry and biology teachers who are also my sponsors. And I originally was like full like student government kind of person, but I also had an interest in like healthcare. And so this kind of like let me combine the two with like taking a leadership position. And if it wasn't for my chemistry teacher of like nagging me about becoming a state officer, I probably wouldn't have. But just the encouragement really led me to where I am today.
For me, I started HOSA when I was a freshman, and we didn't go to the fall conference, but we ended up going to the spring conference. And I competed in 2 events, and I loved it. I loved seeing all the people there, all the expos that they had, and I really fell in love and just wanted to do everything I could with healthcare. And so then the next few years, I ran for state office, and me joined VILA. This is our 2nd year, and so we really like this place, as you can tell. But yeah, that's my big motive of why I really want to do HOSA. Let's hear about some of you guys. Maybe it's in the chat. Yeah.
So
go
you guys
ahead,
can
introduce
unmute
yourselves.
yourself and just talk about the leadership role you hold in your local chapter.
Yeah, I think it went up. It was at 61.
Or even any questions?
Or
You
what
can
you want to
answer.
hear from us about, like how to help start your chapters, or, what advice we can give to you.
Or like advice and tips with like the disc profile, like what we personally do for like organizing stuff, anything like that.
Okay, while you guys are doing that,
What is the hardest part of?
Oh,
of
gosh.
running person? I think it's different for everyone.
this is, yeah, we could go around and like say what your personal life is.
Mine was a speech. I'm not a very popular person, and so I thought the speech was quite difficult. But after practicing so many times, got into it, and it became easier.
Personally for me, being like a correct person and detail oriented, it was the speech, like recording the speech. I kept wanting to do it over and over again. I was like, I don't sound right, don't sound enthusiastic. So it was just really like my tone and like how to like portray my image was the hardest part for me.
I think mine was more of the application actually. The speech, I like talking, sometimes a little too much. But I thought the speech was really cool in the way that I could, kind of like voice my opinions and voice whatever I wanted to say. But I think the hardest part was, I don't know, just sitting down and putting like how I wanted to look good on paper, but that was just a really hard thing to do like your sophomore or junior year of high school. And so that was the most difficult part.
I'm gonna go off of what Sabrina and Alex said. It was definitely the speech, which is funny because like I said, I do forensics, but I do more of acting and stuff like that. So the speech part was kind of hard for me, and I had to keep recording it over and over again. And I felt like I never got it the way I wanted it to be, but I mean, it worked.
Yeah,
So
we're here.
I'm here. Yeah. You like?
I think it was more the application. I don't do well with grammar, and so I did not want to sound like, not smart. Like, what if they read it and then like the comma was in the wrong place? And I was like, that was it for me. It was just worrying.
Mine was probably the video, just because I can't memorize stuff very well. So that was not good. So.
And that's another thing too. All of us joined the state officer team in COVID season, right? Hopefully, fingers crossed, this spring we're gonna have an in-person conference. And if you do run for HOSA, that's when you actually like give your speech in person, and so it wouldn't be a recording, right? So just keep that in mind as we talk about stuff. Best.
That's part of, was it culture or
State officer.
these people?
Oh
So cool.
Yeah. I would say the best part is honestly just like meeting the people, like making the connections you get to make. So obviously we're very involved, networking, we're very involved. And we get an awesome officer team right here, so it's awesome.
Something like insane that we were really just talking about, not even that long ago, was that, so like Alex, me and Bila were on the team last year. We met for the first time this week. So like we spent an entire year on like Zoom calls week after week and like seeing each other through all these virtual things, but we never actually got to meet each other. And so thank you. Even though there were like even though we, were miles apart from each other, we still got so close to the team last year. And then this team, we actually got to see each other and meet each other and like, connect with each other. So that's really, really cool.
What's your biggest inspiration of hosting? Who was your biggest inspiration for hosting? Think about that.
Can I just go?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, okay. Well, my biggest inspiration is like literally Joy. She is like a girl boss. If you have seen her in action, she is like on top of it. She has meeting minutes, like she's like, we need to get this done and done and done. And then we get it done and we're just like, okay, all right. Like she's just like literally so good at what she does. And she's so result oriented, so it's really good.
Yeah.
I love you.
I second that.
I love you. Okay. I don't know what to say. Yeah. What's the next one?
Can you balance sports and other activities while being a state officer?
Yes.
Absolutely. We all talked about already just being involved in different things, like Joy, obviously debate, forensics, Stugo, and then like Audrey's like cross country, and just like we all do sports and different activities. So it is possible because we're all here right now.
And it's like we will find time to do things too, which is even crazier. Like we have meetings at like 9 o'clock sometimes because we don't get home until that time.
Yeah.
Right. And so, but the thing is, we're not, reluctant to go to these meetings.
Right.
Like we want to see each other, and it's something that you enjoy doing. So it won't be like a burden on you if you truly are passionate about being a state officer.
And we're very supportive of like each other's activities. So obviously we understand that not all of us are going to be able to meet at the same time. So like we'll catch you up. So it's just like a close knit group where we can just understand each other.
We also keep the meeting minutes in like a folder, so if you miss a meeting, all you have to do is go back into that meeting minute and read it, and you basically get all the information that we went over.
Our communication this year has been really good too, I think, for the state officer, especially like, because, some people have softball games, some people have musicals, like it's insane. And so as long as your state officer team is talking with each other and you guys are talking with your advisor and keeping that communication up, you should be completely fine with balancing sports and activities. Yes. Okay, what's your favorite part about the competitive events? Oh my gosh. Okay.
I like seeing other teams, honestly. Like I did forensic science in the past. And when it was in person, we all had to sit with one and figure it out. And me and my partner were diligently working at ours, but we like looked around and saw everybody else like with that competitive drive, just really working on their what they thought was happening. I thought that was really cool. I really liked that.
This is gonna sound crazy, but I like putting it together.
Yeah, that's not crazy.
Well, because it seems like a lot of work, but I remember last year when I put together my clerical specialty, I learned so much. And I was like, I actually am really glad I did this because now I know about careers and stuff like that. So yeah,
Character development,
yeah.
And it's also a really great way to like learn about different careers. Like you're only exposed to so many different healthcare fields that you get to go into. Through competitive events, you get to succeed in something that you're passionate about, but you also get to like grow in the different events that you know about.
Yeah.
Okay. What's the biggest challenge of running a local challenge?
What's your favorite?
Never mind. That was
What is your favorite event?
So that's all.
Mine's probably the sports medicine. Like I enjoy taping ankles and stuff, like showing off my taping skills.
I want to say I did this with my group. It's debate. Yeah, it went great. Yeah,
I've only competed in 2 events before, but I liked clinical specialty better. I did creative problem solving. It was fun. Yeah, I just liked clinical specialty better.
I like biomed debate. It's the love of my life. I like it a lot.
I also did biomedical debate as a sub, but I did the knowledge, yeah, as a sub, not personal choice, but I did the knowledge test, and I like to study really hard in classrooms, and then it just kind of helps me, like in the knowledge test from all the medical classes I've taken.
Pop off.
I like the forensic science, just finding out what's going on and trying to figure out each piece of the puzzle. That sounds really fun.
You guys want?
Big fundraising.
Fundraising, fundraising is hard.
Local chapters, but there are so many different things you can do. Simple Google searches, or I know at I think the host of the
The
national.
HOSA website, actually, if your chapter is having some trouble finding some fundraising ideas, there are so many different resources that like are on that HOSA website. You just need to dig them out. But yeah, there's a lot of ideas there.
There's also a ton of ideas on Be the Match, so if you want to fundraise for a national service project, you can go on there, and they have a ton of ideas for that.
Do you want to tell them what your chapter did with the walk?
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
so my local chapter, we actually did a walkathon. So basically we got people to sponsor us and like pledge certain amounts of money. And then we like walked for 2 hours straight to raise money for Be the Match. So cool. Yeah.
And something really cool about that is because Be the Match is our national service project, it has a direct like team with HOSA, right? And so if you do like Be the Match or raise awareness and funds for that, then you can get recognized on an international level, depending on how far you go in that fundraising. And so that brings first clout to your, team. And it also gives you all an objective to have by the end of the year.
And it also doesn't have to be like a monetary amount. Like
Yeah,
you can donate
sure.
just your time or even like finding like a drive, like doing a Be the Match drive. Yeah, so it can be your time. So.
Next question. What are some of the things that you do as a state officer? Alex, Hannah, and I, we actually gave a presentation earlier. It's how to become a state officer, and in there we talk about the different things that we have. That is a recorded session. So if you would like to go back and reference that, that's amazing. That's a great resource for you. But we can talk about what we like to do on the teams. What's our favorite thing that we've done?
Favorite part of the
Games and drinks.
Or games and drinks.
No, we have games and drinks. Okay, so this is really cute. We started this tradition last year, but after our very lengthy HOSA meeting, sometimes we're all just so tired of talking about HOSA. We love it, but it gets a little draining sometimes. So at the very end of every single meeting we have, we do this thing called games and drinks, and we go around and each officer says something that was really, really great about their week, which is the gain, and then something that was really dreadful and terrible about their week, which is the drain. And so we just kind of get close through that. And that's also something that you guys can use in your leadership teams as well. It's important for us to be focused and have an objective when it comes to trying to get something done. But it's also important to know your officer team and know them as people, know them as friends. And that way we work better together like that. And I've definitely gotten to know all of these wonderful people in that way. So that's a good way to get closer to your team. Do you have any questions? Or even do you guys have any suggestions for other teams? What are your career interests? Yeah.
Sure. I really like technology and healthcare, so I want to be a prosthetist or orthotist.
I'm currently undecided, but I do have a passion for dentistry, so maybe I'll become a dentist.
I am a little also undecided. I'm still on the fence about some stuff, but I love kids, and so pediatrics, anywhere in that direction. Hopefully.
I'm also kind of undecided. I'm interested in orthopedics, and I think being an orthopedic surgeon would be really cool, but there's other things out there. I'm not sure yet.
I'm also stuck between two things, but right now I'm leaning towards being a neurosurgeon. I find people's brains cool, so that's probably why.
I'm like Joy. I really just want to go into pediatrics. So
We have a couple minutes.
Any more questions?
Do you guys need to know anything that we can provide to you to
Yeah.
help you with your chapters? Maybe like elections, how chapters are held?
We can talk about like different things that you can do in your individual local chapters. We could talk about what our school's election process looks like when it comes to deciding who's like the president and vice president of each chapter. Up to you guys. We're here to help you. So if you need anything from your state officer team, like let us know. Whether it's here, later on, social media. Follow our social media.
Yes.
At
Um,
Kansas HOSA?
Just straight up Kansas HOSA. It's on Instagram, Facebook. Yeah, we're not very active. So
Maybe we can change that.
Instagram and Facebook, and then we'll definitely start posting stuff on there. There's going to be a lot of information leading up to the spring leadership conference. We'll start getting active around that. We've already posted a lot of our state officer spotlights. So if you would like to get to know all of us a little better and our passion for HOSA, then you can definitely read our bios under each of those posts.
Question, what has been your biggest achievement? Okay, I'd say biggest achievement is honestly planning this conference right now.
Yeah.
Like,
Yes.
we've already like become a state officer, but like now we've actually put in so much work for you guys. We love engaging with you guys. So like planning this whole conference is probably like the biggest achievement for us.
Yes, I agree.
I second that, especially the fact that this is a virtual conference.
Yeah, so it took all the planning from us.
It
A
took
lot
a
went
lot,
into it.
yeah, but I thought it was really fun.
That's
to
what
enjoy.
Yeah.
I'm especially proud of Joy and Alex because we've done 3 virtual conference back to back. And the planning between that is just
is.
insane. Spending hours making stuff, recording videos. It's really good.
You guys have any like personal achievements?
Um,
Like whether it's included in events
Yeah. I'm pretty proud of our Phonic chapter. We just hit a new high for registered members. And so that was really cool. We got a,
that's a big achievement.
Yeah.
HOSA in general.
yeah, we got a new high amount of people.
I can second that with Shanu. We
can all
increased our
second that.
numbers a lot and I'm glad so many freshmen are interested.
Yeah, the freshmen are so
Yeah.
like, shout out to all the
Yeah,
freshmen.
yeah.
We love you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, Pit Host is doing great too. Love you. So much
Yes.
love for you.
HOSA's numbers have increased a lot.
Yeah, and another really exciting thing about that is up until this year, we only had high school chapters that I know of. I could be wrong on this, just high school chapters. But now we're branching out to middle schools as well as collegiate chapters, right? So Pitt State is now here. I don't know if they're in this Zoom call, but hey guys. Yeah, so
No, she's at Visitor State.
Oh,
Oh,
sorry.
Never
Yeah,
mind.
yeah, go Pitt. Y'all said a lot of typos, I'm sorry.
Also, I know Royster Middle School in Chanute is attending
Yeah.
right now too, so we have some middle schoolers.
So our numbers are definitely growing. We're on the map, you guys. So keep it up with all of your events, like attendance in all of your local meetings and everything like that. Do you have any questions?
Yeah, anyone wants any questions? If not, just feel free to like DM us on Instagram or anything.
Oh, there's one more. Okay, I think we might have time for this.
Oh.
How you encourage Mila's kind of blind. I think she needs to open her glasses or something. So, how do you encourage students to get involved in HOSA even if they may have a different pathway?
That was pretty
This is
good.
a good question.
So for me, I really liked technology and like robotics and all that stuff, but I still had this passion to help people. I wanted to like give service back. And so I thought, and I found through my advisor, Mrs. Duncan, shout out. Oh yeah. That there is a career called prosthetics and orthotics, where it really mashes the two together. You still have that healthcare, seeing the patients, working with the patients, but you have that fabrication and tech side of the healthcare. And there are many more occupations out there like that. Like if you look back at the keynote speaker, they talk about how it's more than just health professionals in hospitals. There's accountants, there's lawyers, there's all these separate things. If you have that passion to help other people in the healthcare industry, there's so many jobs. It's not just a family physician and a dentist. There's so many more things.
Especially in high school, like when you say healthcare professional, I don't know, like my freshman and sophomore year, I was like, okay, like doctors and surgeons and nurses, and that was it. That was like my mind of like healthcare. And so once you know, like tell them it's not just, you know, like people that you see on the news in regards to healthcare, it's like so many different careers that are also intertwined with host. So like just making sure that they know that healthcare isn't in like this little box of small careers. Like Alex said, it's so many more different things that you can talk about.
My roundtable was also like that. It's not just like medical terminology, it just doesn't affect specific stuff. Like if you're gonna be a vet or if you're gonna be like something along those lines, you can use those terms in those different fields. I know we also have for an event, I forgot what it was called, but it had something to do with technology. And it's just, you're using different aspects, and it's not, you don't have to go specifically into the healthcare field, but just use those experiences from those events and take it to what you want to do. And then medical ethics and law, if you want to be somewhere in the law field or just government, like, you know, that helps you with that aspect. So.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Where do we upload? Where do we upload the content?
Where's that?
Okay, well, there's a question. It says, where do we upload our main content before the SLC?
Oh, for Tallow. Yeah.
Oh, Tallow. Do you want to talk about Tallow?
Yeah. So if you go to hosted.org, there is a tab. I'm pretty sure it just says Tallow right there. It's on the national website, hosa.org, and there's Tallow tab. Click on that, click create a profile, and it walks you through all the steps of creating your profile and everything you need to do, everything you have to enter in. And then towards closer to Spring Leadership Conference, in Tallow, they'll have an event for our Kansas Spring Leadership Conference, and it'll have each specific event that you have to enter stuff in for. So if you have to enter in your stuff for clinical,
Yeah, I have used Tallow for clinical specialty.
just upload it right there, and then when you attend the conference, you've already got all your stuff uploaded to Tallow, and you're ready to go.
I'm sorry.
No, go for it.
Make sure if you are competing in an event that requires Tallow, there are deadlines that are like before the actual
Yes.
conference. So you need to be careful about that and look. So I think I had to upload mine like 2 weeks before the conference. And if I didn't know that, I would be out of luck. So yeah.
And I can't stress how important it is to read the guidelines because they
Yes.
help you so much. And there's even sample questions. If you don't know what you're like looking for, like if you go through the guidelines, they like, you know, they give you examples on what you can expect.
Sample questions, sample scenarios.
Shout out to Pitt Hosa for commenting.
Yeah.
You guys are the best.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
So we've like 5 more minutes. So any last questions for us to answer?
You can also DM us what you want
Yeah.
from us state officers and how we can help you guys going forward.
That's
Thank
so
you.
nice.
Thank you.
Oh my gosh.
Okay,
all right, well.
We're not being biased.
I can't say anything right now.
Is anyone planning to run for national office? You were talking about it, Joy was talking about it.
We'll see.
Should.
I'm thinking about it, but nothing official yet, so don't count on me.
Maybe you can.
Me too.
Sweet.
They're encouraging you, listen to it.
But thank you so much for all of your appreciation. We really do appreciate all of you guys. And especially, we were very stressed this week. With putting this together, we didn't know how, well we were gonna get everything across, but it seems like it was a pretty successful conference, so.
I had fun.
Yeah, we definitely have fun. So I think this is our last live session for today. For the rest of the day, you've got a lot of different things on the schedule. And I also encourage all of the chapters, if you have time after whatever, like after the conference ends officially, if you want to go back and look at all of those resources, such as like extra keynote speakers or health profession videos, all of that is on like our conference page that we shared with your advisors this morning. So there's a lot of additional information you can find there, and I hope you enjoyed this last session, and we hope you enjoy the rest of your conference. Yeah. All right. Thank you.
Thank you guys.
Bye.
Spring Leadership Conference.
Yes.